The future, a pure state of the unknown, with no way to guess what could be. And yet, we often drive ourselves crazy guessing what it holds in store for us. And fate? Think of fate as future's stubborn twin. Now, what if you were given the ability to foretell fate? Would you see it as a gift? Or would you see it as a curse? Would you be content with knowing what is to come? Or would you be driven to madness knowing that there's nothing you can do to change it? That is the reality that someone like Iuno has to endure. And the 2.6 main story quest was the perfect representation of what comes with possessing such a power. Blessings can be curses by another name, but Iuno is not one to bow to such conventions. She strives to bring variation to the constants of fate. And throughout the main story quest, we see Iuno express her dissatisfaction and anxiety surrounding fate and the future, with her mostly regarding fate to be something that is predetermined and impossible to alter. But here's the thing, because Iuno cannot foretell fate, at least not anymore. The people of Septimont believe that Iuno was blessed with the ability to see the future by studying how the moonlight changes. However, during the quest, it is revealed that Iuno had given up her ability to foretell fate and traded it for an ability that allows her to resist the dark tide. Which, hey, sounds like a pretty great deal. The only thing is that every time that she uses said ability, it costs her part of her existence. But why would Iuno give up such an important ability? One that could literally allow her to predict the future, for an ability that resists the dark tide? Especially if this new ability practically eats away at her well-being. In Tetragon Temple, there are multiple collections of murals. The first collection tells the tales of 3 previous Hero of Heroes, Fabius, Attilius, and Valeria, all of which were destined to become the Hero of Heroes of their time. And then there's an unfinished mural, a mural that depicts the future that awaits Septimont. Only the Hero of Heroes of extraordinary power, risen from the dark tides, shall bring eternity to Septimont. Each mural was created by past priestesses, and each mural depicts different prophecies, all of which are destined to become true. The Hero of Heroes shall rise to turn the tide of fate, but there's just one problem. The mural has a missing piece, and that missing piece is meant to prophesy Septimont's victory over the coming disaster. But why? Why is this specific piece missing, especially if it's so important? If the priestesses are unable to foretell the specifics of their victory, what does that mean for the future? Is the path to their future really set, or can fate truly be changed? This is where the rover comes in. When speaking to one of the high priestesses named Lilibet, she says something quite interesting. When looking into Rover's fate, all she sees is a void. But it's not as terrifying as it sounds, because Lilibet explains that by Rover's fate being basically inconclusive, their fate is non-determined. Their fate is unknowable, which means that maybe, with the rover by the side of Septimont, that their fate can be influenced, maybe even changed. As Iuno is about to hold back the false sovereign, she experiences a vision, a future where Septimont is engulfed in flames and Augusta is kneeling in front of an eclipsed sun, surrounded by crows, an ominous red sky, and a battlefield full of swords, being consumed by the dark tide. A future that is the doomsday of Septimont and the end of Augusta's life. But this future is also something that the rover was able to see, with even Iuno being surprised by this fact, but also curious to how far Rover was truly able to see. Iuno has her own reservations when it comes to these particular visions. However, one thing I found quite interesting is that Iuno is uncertain whether these visions are even true, but based on everything that she's experienced so far, fate has given her no response but sorrow and pain. The great bond between Iuno and Augusta is undeniable, and it is pretty evident how much care the two have for one another. A premonition that points to the death of someone dear to you is not a walk on the beach, but a fight with a relentless ocean. Iuno wanted to simply just ignore and completely deny that Augusta's fate could end in such misery, but she soon realizes that she cannot ignore it any longer, and the dark tide must be stopped. The dark tide had forced Iuno to see something that she wanted to keep hidden, something she so desperately wished to never face. Despite it all, Iuno couldn't help but feel helpless, because ultimately, being able to know and see everything but unable to change not one thing would make anyone feel helpless. However, not all hope is lost. Since the rover's fate is a void, they may be a key to altering the fate of Septimont, because, well, their fate, unlike everyone else, is unknowable. Going back to Iuno's splash art post, in the post it states, "While the moon cycles, I remain the anchor." And we know that Iuno utilizes, or I guess used to utilize, the way that the moonlight changes in order to predict the future. Now, what if I told you there may be a reason why Iuno's ability costs her part of her existence? During the quest, Iuno gives Rover her Lunarum bracelet, a bracelet that was passed down to her by her predecessor when she became a priestess. This bracelet also contains a small portion of her resonance power, and its description reads that it is a quiet witness to her journey, but also serves as a medium of anchoring. Do you see where I'm going with this? Okay, let me explain. Since Iuno is regarded as the anchor, with her bracelet being a medium of anchoring, if that anchor is lost for a brief moment, aka Iuno's existence being forgotten, then maybe that is how fate can be changed. With Rover's fate being a void, according to High Priestess Lilibet, the Rover could become the new anchor, which is also why the mural in Tetragon Temple has a missing centerpiece. Ovidius explains that that part is meant to prophesy Septimont's victory over the Dark Tide. He believes that that part of the prophecy is either something that the priestesses just cannot predict, or that it is meant to be hidden. But what if it's hidden because that prophecy involves the influence of the rover, who has an unknowable fate, which is why the priestesses are unable to predict it, because they are the one thing that can change the tides of the fate of Septimont. Now, I'll leave you with two questions to ponder. Is Rover the key to changing the future of Septimont? And is Iuno's existence truly lost? Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see for what the second half has in store for us. And with that being said, I will leave it there for today. Please feel free to let me know in the comments your personal thoughts and theories on what we discussed. And as always, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.